Good morning, everyone. This is another look at global variables, and I'm going to use the Codesters platform again, but this doesn't have to be considered a video for kids. If you're learning Python, the switch in context to Codesters can actually be illuminating for various reasons. One of which is you see the difference that we don't have to import certain things. So let's go ahead and explain the objective. What I want to do is get the program running and only then position some sprites. And we'll go for the bat, being Halloween themed. So I want to go out on the canvas with the program running, and every time I click on the canvas, I want a bat to end up in that position. That's going to be my setup. And then when I hit a space bar or do something otherwise, with the keys, it's going to start moving the bats around randomly. Now in step 2 or part 2 of this video, we'll do some collision detection and have the bats disappear or get deleted if they're touching. But here we're just going to set things up, and we're going to not name each of our individual sprites. Again, we're going to use a data structure to keep the bats, and we're going to notice that when we click on the stage, in other words, the stage is going to notice when it's clicked that it needs to give birth to a bat. So we'll say create bat as the name of the function to call. I could have just stuck with click, it doesn't matter, but I think create bat is a little more explicit. So I change the name of the function. Automatically, the X and Y of where my mouse clicks are given to me in the canned code, and it's all ready to move a sprite there. I didn't have to even write that code. So let's go ahead and create a bat sprite. So I go to sprites and scroll down to bat. I must be thinking of black cats. Do I rather do black cats? Sure. I've been doing bats all this time. I think it's time for a change. So I'm going to change this to all cats, not bats. So it just uses the name sprite by default throughout Codesters. This is going to have only a local meaning inside of the function create bat. This word sprite, because it's not outside of the function at the module level, will not survive any meaning outside the function. It's just purely for local use. It's enough to move the sprite and to append the sprite to all cats. So I will continue to have access to every cat that I create. It's just not by the name sprite. That's going to go away. But I'm still going to have all my cats inside this list, all cats. Or you could say the list is going to have references, not by name, to all the different cats. So this looks good. This is about all I would need, I would think, to place the cats. Let's just test it at this point. See what we've got. So I'm running the code, and I'm clicking here and there, and lo and behold, there are the sprites going to where I want them. That must have been a double click right there. Okay, all is working. Do I like cats as much as bats? Sure. For now, not a problem. So I'm going to stop the code and go one more step. Once I've placed the cats or bats or whatever, I would like to hit a space bar, let's say, and start having them move around randomly. So under the heading of, is it actions or stage? I believe under stage I can get these events relating to the stage. Where are these events? Key press. I'm looking for key press. Click on stage. Here we go. So I clicked on events, stage events. It's when I hit the space bar that I want things to start going, not until then. So again, the function name is already canned spacebar. I could change that to something like move cats, and then the corresponding function, I'd have to name that the same thing, move cats. So I don't want the cats to jump. I actually want to loop over all cats, so for cat in all cats. Now all cats is a global variable. Cat, however, is just getting a local binding inside the function. So in the loop, in the for loop, I can do something with the cat. And basically what I want to do is have the cat glide to some random xy position. So the word random there is critical. Where do I get a random number? I'm going way to the top and saying from random, which is one of the standard modules in Python, import randint for random integer. And now I have the magical ability to create two random numbers. I'm going to go from negative 230 to 230 both times, x and y, because we're in this grid, which is square shaped, of about 200 above and 200 below the x-axis, which goes straight across from negative 230 to 230. So like the equator, where x is 0, cuts the top of the screen in half, and it's got 230 positions going up, actually 250. But I didn't want to go all the way to the margin. So I'm basically picking any random position within a certain frame and having my cat glide there. So let's see if this works. But wait, I don't want the spacebar action to happen right away. Let's see, is this what I want to do? Let's run it. Just place the cats. And then I'll hit the space bar. Okay, they all went and moved a little bit. Every time I hit the space bar, they're going to do something. They're going to move. And I can still give birth to new cats. That click function still works. So I can add cats to my all cats list. And then each time I hit the space bar, you can't see me hit it, but space bar, it does the motion, which means it loops through all the cats. Now I would like the cats to keep just moving around kind of like that way somewhat automatically. As soon as I hit the space bar, I want them to keep moving. I don't want to have to hit the space bar every time. And what's useful for that is another stage event called set interval. And I pull some code out, and it's actually event interval. Set interval is not the actual name, it's called event interval. And when that runs, it says stage, do this function called interval every 2 seconds. Now what I want to have it do is the move cats every 2 seconds, so I'll replace it there. And so that way I could just delete the function that it gave me, because I already have the function move cats. But you know what? I don't want to do this right away. It's when the space bar gets pushed that I want to start this. So here's what I'm going to do: is when the space bar is pressed, I'm going to run the function called start moving, and I'm going to define that start moving. Oh, there they go. Stop the code for a moment. Start moving takes no arguments, and that's when I'm going to tell the stage about this every 2 second deal. Like start moving the cats every 2 seconds after I hit the space bar. So let's look at that code just one more time before I run it, and then we'll be at the end of this particular development phase. So I'll still place the cats as I wish, but once I hit the space bar, in other words, key event space, it's going to run the function start moving. Start moving in turn is going to set move cats to run every 2 seconds. So let's run this and see if it runs the way I hope it will. So I place a cat. Let's see, about 10 cats ought to do it. Actually, that's probably good. And now I'm going to hit the space bar once, And now I'm sitting back, I'm not doing anything, I'm not hitting the space bar a second time. But because of this every 2 seconds rule, the function continues to happen. So there we go. This is phase one of a little game I'm developing. Let's go on to part two.